Hello everyone. I hope this time I got this working correctly, but I'm going to wait a few seconds. We are now live. I apologize. Hello everyone. I apologize for a complete ass of myself that I made tonight. I have been speaking now for 20 minutes to myself, and this shows you how moronic I am. And yes. God, this is so embarrassing. Hello, everyone. How are you? I think you hear me quite well? I'm getting good vibes from my settings. So let's start again. Um, Agriculture. Agriculture was a really significant marking point of our evolution and our society. Um, we have changed so much, both in our societies and socially, and also biologically. And I have an article here. I'll address you guys. No, I'm not drunk. God, I wish I was drunk, but then I would have had an excuse. I just had the wrong count running, and I'll have to delete that because it's going to embarrass my motorbike friends. But anyway, let's get back to what I was going to say. I have an article here on our evolution, basically. God, damn it! I did such an awesome introduction. Now I've forgotten about it. So I'm gonna have a drink and then I'll start again. How is everyone, by the way? John the Bemused. I do stupid shit all the time, and everyone who does stupid shit and admits it is a sane person. Everyone that does stupid shit and don't admit it are SJWs. But let's start this because I have an article here which is quite good, and I'm going to debunk it. At least the newspaper article which I am going to cover. See, we're going to talk about how agriculture influenced our evolution, and I have a study. If you guys want to look into my description, I encourage you to look into my description. I have an article. I'm going to read the article from the Telegraph, but I have the actual published article is the third link in my description with the PNAS org. But I also found the free, but the PNSA .org is a pay-per-view. Excuse me, but the one before that, the ResearchGatesNet publication, is the same article except that it's free. I encourage you all to have a look at it. It is a way to learn. I always try to encourage people to learn shit. I'm learning. This to me is new as well. I'm learning. The Telegraph, all mainstream newspaper or mainstream media can qualify as fake news, but we will not get into that. I'm using this. I have other articles in my description from Sci.org, from Science Daily, etc., and they basically say the same thing. But I'm going to use the Telegraph article because it's easy to digest. That's the only criteria that I'm using. I could have used the other one, but I've put the other two articles from Sci.org and Science Daily so you guys can contrast. I encourage you guys to read the sources that I provide, because they don't only show you the contrasts you can find from various publications, but you can also learn to you can see from different points of views how people tackle the same basically the same article, the same news. So I'm going to share, of course, again the article, the news article. It's from the Telegraph. It's the title is "Birth of Farming Caused Jaw-Dropping Changes to the Human Skull. Scientists Find." So I'm skipping over the skulls because I might get demonetized. I don't know what the hell the bot that is, how it picks how it's not all possibly demonetized. The video that I made on hominin burials was demonetized and it continues to be demonetized, so I just turned off demonetization. Fuck it. Oh shit, I swore. I apologize. Hope that's not going to demonetize my channel. This article was written by Sarah Knapton, science editor of the Telegraph, and she starts off, it's basically worth chewing over. Now, humans have small, slender heads and weaker jaws because of our discovery of soft foods like cheese and dairy, a new study suggests. Okay. Yes, they are soft foods. Research by the University of California suggests that the advent of farming, especially dairy products, had a small but significant effect on the shape of the human skulls. Now, the reason is all in the effort it took to eat farmed food. Humans who lived by hunting and foraging wild foods had to put more effort into chewing than those surviving on a softer diet of cheese and cereal mush. Now, I have a problem with this statement, these two paragraphs. First of all, I'm going to show you, I'm going to list the foods that both hunter-gatherers and quote-unquote farmers, agriculturalists, for the sake of description, that's not the correct term, agriculturalists, but I'm going to use it just for semantic description. It's a label. I'm just going to label them to distinguish between the hunter-gatherers. That is all. It is not anything other than that. Now, what did hunter-gatherers and agriculturalists eat in common? One of them was bread. Bread is easy to make. You just have to grind grass seeds, add water, wait a bit because they had natural yeast in them, and put them in a fire, and you have bread. Okay, that's the easiest way to make bread. Australia, we had damper. In the Middle East, you have, well, not in the Middle East. In many parts of the world, you have flatbreads. Not just the Middle East, you have them in India, you have them in Europe, you have them in everywhere, flatbreads. They are the breads that were cooked on a open flame, basically, or coals. You had gruel. What is gruel? It is basically a primitive porridge. You roughly ground seeds, you add water, you boil them, and you have gruel, or porridge, which is the modern equivalent. You have, for example, honey. Both hunter-gatherers and modern-day and agriculturalists eat honey. You have meat. Hunted for their meat. Agriculturalists kept the meat. They raised meat, sheep. Later on, this we're talking about when we finished domesticating sheep, cattle, pigs, horse, just to name a few. Reindeer, they still do, reindeer. You had meat. Fruits. Okay, the modern, we can't use the modern day fruits because the modern day fruits are really soft and big and seedless and all that. But the Neolithic, at least, for example, an apple was a little berry-sized fruit that Americans know it as, could see, a crab apple. I'm sure most of you guys here, guinea pigs are from that they came later. They are from Mesoamerica, so we won't go. We'll just keep with Europe archaeonomy. But yes, absolutely. Now, crab apples, they are tart as a lot. I'm not going to swear tonight, so I would have used the F word. But you have berries, raspberries, wild strawberries, blueberries, lots of fruits, and even nuts. Of course, nuts were also in Europe. You have them naturally, chestnuts, walnuts, etc. But they are hard. But I'm talking about the soft fruits. They would have been different from the today. So they would have required the same amount of chewing. The only difference is dairy products. That's it. Milk, cheese, and yogurt. They are the only three product. The only difference between a hunter-gatherer and an agriculturalist. Oh God, I hate that word, agriculturalist. Food producer. That is more accurate. Guys, from now on, it's not hunter-gatherer and agriculture. It's hunter-gatherer and food producer. Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that. So, without the daily workout of chewing, grinding, and gnawing, bone and muscles declined, refining the features of farming communities. Okay, so if they basically ate, the hunter-gatherers and the food producers basically ate the same types of food except for the dairy products, I don't see how that own feature only would make the decline in muscles and bones. How they would decline. I'm leading up to my own hypothesis, by the way, guys. So I hope you bear with me. The effect of farming is most visibly in the areas of the skulls that generate or experience stress during chewing, said graduate student David Knatz, formerly of UC Davis, who is now postdoctoral research at the University of Calgary in Atlanta. Okay. The simplest explanation is that these stresses were reduced by farming diets are generally softer. Now, bread. Hunter-gatherers could make most likely, the Australian Aborigines proved that they could make a form of bread. I think I'm not going to say the damper is one, but they would have ground and baked or cooked, roasted a mash of roasted flour. That's bread. It's not any softer or harder if you use wild grasses or domesticated grasses. It is basically the same. Yes, of course, you have more or less grit into during the refined grinding techniques, etc. So that is basically what would be the meat is the same. If you cook meat, any form of meat, is the same toughness or hardness. Well, if you cook a really mutton, 6-year-old mutton, if you just barbecue it quickly, it'll be it'll be like chewing leather compared to a young gazelle that's a year-old gazelle, it would be much that you had to hunt. It would be much more tender. So, do you see what I mean? It is not necessarily meat. Is not necessarily. It would be the same between both the two societies, the hunter-gatherers and the food producers. Wild things like honey, same. Fruits, I said the same. Except the dairy products. So that would be the only softer thing that you would be. They map the points of the this picture here maps. Yeah. I sound drunk, don't I? Sorry about that, guys, but I'm not really. I've only had one beer. I'm still drinking the beer. And they try to show stress points and etc. So this diagram doesn't prove anything to me, at least. Continuing, hunter-gatherers began to rely on diets of domesticated plants. Domesticated plants in the Neolithic were not any softer than they were in the Paleolithic period with pre-agriculture. Just saying that. Animals around 10,000 years ago, and archaeologists have noted the skulls began to shrink, but could not quantify the change or say why it happened. I'm going to put forward, when I sort of get to the end, a hypothesis of why it could have happened. So bear with me. To figure out these changes, researchers studied more than 1,000 skulls and jaws from pre-industrial groups throughout the world who were either hunter-gatherers or farmers. So they basically, this is important. This here is very, very important. They studied 1,000 skulls from pre-industrial groups throughout the world who were either hunter-gatherers or farmers. So they basically studied skulls from pre-17th century humans. Inuits, Africans, Australians, the Aborigines, of course, Australian Aborigines, possibly South American hunter-gatherers, the Amazon's full of them. And they came to this conclusion. Now, they didn't. I find this statement very, very narrowing. Why didn't they study actual hunter-gatherers from the period of Paleolithic period and early agriculturalists from the Neolithic period? We know we have extensive collections of skulls and jaws from those periods from many museums around the world. I find this statement very, very troubling. They found that in farming communities, one part of one of the major chewing muscles, the temporalis, became smaller and changed positions as communities changed their diet. As a result, the upper jaw became shorter and the lower jaw smaller. This could have an alternative hypothesis, which I will discuss. I haven't forgotten. The main difference between foragers and farmer skulls were we would expect to find them, and changed in ways we might expect them to. If chewing demands increasing, a decrease in farming groups added Dr. Kratz. Agriculture changed not only human culture and life ways, but human biology as well. Not to the extent of which they are trying to push forward, but I will get to that in a second. The largest change in the skull morphology were observed in groups consuming dairy products. suggesting that the effects of agriculture on skull morphology was greater in populations consuming softer foods. But they only saying that the softer foods were dairy products. All the other foods were basically the same. So at least in early farmers, milk did not make a bigger, stronger skull bones. I wonder why. I'll get that to them. A nice cow there, by the way. Commenting on the findings, Noreen von Kramen-Taubadel, associate professor of the University of Buffalo, said the profound effects of the transition to agriculture. They are using the transition from agriculture to transition to agriculture and biology of modern humans cannot be overstated. Yet they used semi-modern samples, and I find that quite lazy. Let me just say, it's quite lazy. They're using correct methodology, but their samples were wrong, basically. Anthropologists have noted that for some time that even prehistoric farmers had more gracile crania and lower jaws than foragers. I put forward another hypothesis, which I will discuss soon. Have a little bit of patience. I'm going to have to get you through this article. Drawing on extensive global database and innovative analytic approaches in the study, demonstrates smaller but consistent efforts in a soft agricultural diet on skull morphology that related directly to chewing anatomy. I disagree. Let's see how far we are there. We're almost to the end now. Before I get to the end part, well, I'll read the end part and then I'll put forward my own hypothesis on this, why we have become gracile features and weaker jaws, weaker jaw muscle, facial muscles, etc. The previous study of the University of Cambridge suggested that one-time human skeletons have become much lighter and more fragile since the invention of agriculture as we switched from foraging to farming. While human hunter-gatherers around 7,000 years ago, they were located basically in Africa, some parts of the South America, and also basically all of Americas, by the way. I think, yes, agriculture in the Americas came a little bit after 7,000 years ago. In Australia at least, Papua New Guinea were already agriculturalists by 7,000 years ago. That part of Australasia and Southeast Asia going forward up to the north. I'm trying to think of any other hunter-gatherers. The Inuit. Yes. They were hunter-gatherers. And in the southern tip of South America, the Terra Fuegians. So, hunter-gatherers around 7,000 years ago had bones comparable in strength to modern orangutans. Farmers from the same area over 6,000 years later had significant lighter and weaker bones than they would have been more susceptible to breaking. Bone mass has around 20%, was around 20% lighter in the foragers, and equivalent person would lose over 3 months. That's space. Now, my hypothesis, okay. Chewing was not the only activity that the mouth was used for. Now, no bad thoughts. I'm talking about tool production. We know that to produce hides, hunter-gatherers, for example, would use their mouths. We know that Neanderthals and hunter-gathering Homo sapiens had worn teeth because of continuously crunching and biting into hides and leather to produce leathers, for example, to tie weapons, to produce weapons, to other utensils. This is my hypothesis on this article. I put forward that it was not the actual chewing of the food that weakened our muscles. It was more of the specific specialization that was enabled by agriculture. The farmers, all they would have to do, farmers and pastorals, was raise and it's proven, because that's what led later into a stratified society. They would basically just produce the food which they could trade for what they needed to. That was the beginning of commerce, and it was the beginning of trade, etc. Well, not trade, because the trade was already existed since the dawn of for a long time. I'll cover that in another video. Now, in the agriculture enabled skills to be specialized. You could have a hide maker, because he didn't have to basically produce food. He could trade his skills for food. You see what I mean? So the skull, so he could produce hides without using more modern techniques that evolved over time, of course. He specialized. Instead of using his mouth, he could have used a tool to soften the hide, to produce to produce the tool, the utensil that he could have used. So, of course, the jaws would have become less in general over time, over 5,000 years. That's what? That's about 18 generations. The generations is 25 years. Divide 6,000 by 25, and you get the answer. I'm not good at math, so I won't do the math. But that's basically what I think happened. It's not by the chewing, because apart from the dairy products, hunter-gatherers and food producers ate basically the same types of food. The ones, in fact, hunter-gatherers ate more variety of foods than food producers. That is also a factor that could have produced a weakening of the skeletal features, because basically agriculturalists were, if they just raised grain, that's all they ate. Basically, they could trade for some meat from still a few hunter-gatherers that existed around the time, or they would have raised one or two animals, etc. But you see what I mean? It would have been very, very limited. In fact, I've already made a video on that. It was a very limited dietary components, dietary variation. Hunter-gatherers ate much more variety of foods than food producers did in the early phases. Not like today. Today we have a lot of detail. Post-industrial civilizations have vastly more choice of what they eat. But in the pre-industrial, even modern time, pre-industrial societies, industrial revolutions, 1700s, the 17th century, 18th century, I apologize, 1750s, 60s, whatever, they would have had very, very limited food choices. It is a few animals that they rose, few grain crops that they sowed, and maybe a few vegetables. In my area, I'll give you an example of my area. Up until the 60s, we had rye, we had kale, we had potatoes, we had sheep, goats, and pigs. That's all basically what we ate here. While a hunter-gatherer had a vast, his hearth, his no, his pantry was the landscape. And I think the weakening of the bone mass and muscle mass was more due to both the force that they didn't need to exert to produce tools, because they could trade for them, and also the diet, the agricultural the food producers' diet until the until the industrial revolution times was vastly inferior to the hunter-gatherers. So that is what I think. That is my hypothesis. And if any of these scientists ever see, the publishers ever see this video and get to the end, or I just put forward my hypothesis, maybe they will think about it a little bit more. Now, this is my main article, but I have a little bit of a surprise. I have 10 minutes more, so I'm going to stop sharing, because I have another article, a really short article, and it is but it's just something which I found quite interesting. I love swords, by the way, just to set this stuff up. I love swords. And let's see who's here. My friend Modwayne. No, well, anyway, Modwayne knows what I'm going to talk about here. I'll share it. Oh, I was sharing. Sorry about that. Viking sword found in the mountain in Norway. I'm God. I'm so bad at sometimes so bad at technology. I'll wait till it appears. This is just to end. This is just a small story article about a sword. Espen Finstad, Secrets of the Ice, Upland County Council in Upland, Norway, reports that a well-preserved Viking sword made of high-quality iron was discovered by reindeer hunters. See, reindeer hunters. Well, they are not really reindeer hunters. Well, they could be. There's some reindeers still in Scandinavia that are wild, but not very many. I think they are all farmed. They're all semi-domesticated. But I won't get into that. I find this because it was found at an elevation of 5,351 feet, divided by 3. I can't remember. It's not very high. Should use metric. On a mountain in southern Norway, archaeologist Lars Pillow of Upland County. I wish I could pronounce Pillow. I think it's Pillow. That O with a funny thing. I think it's Pillow. Said that the cold, dry conditions, very good for preserving, not just meat, but also metallic stuff, on the mountain helped preserve the sword, which has been rested among small loose stones in with the blade sticking out. During winters, the blade would have been covered with snow and ice. More ice than snow. Ice is very, very dry. You might not look it, but it is very dry. And snow is a bit more wetter. The archaeologists and hunters returned to the site with a metal detector, but did not find any additional artifacts. They assumed that the weapon may have been lost some 1,100 years ago by a Viking crossing the rough terrain during a blizzard. And for more go to Hordes of the Viking. Don't go there. Just saying. You don't need to go there. But the sword is bloody awesome. See, this measurement is 50 centimeters. So it's about close to a meter. No, 70 centimeters. 50, 60, 70, about 70 to 80 centimeters long. It is very well preserved. Of course, the wooden hilt or leather hilt would have been rotten away. It would have been, I don't know what the primarily, I need a beer because my tongue's not twisting enough. Yeah, I accept that, Mod one. 70 centimeters, yeah, between 70, yeah. 50 plus another 20, let's say. Wait, 10, 20, no. It's 90 centimeters, Mod one. It's not 70. That bar is 50. Now, the red and white, black and white, red and white are 10 centimeters each. So if you want to grab your your fingers and put the black and white and red and white, that's 20 centimeters. And you can see from the tip to the measuring is 20 centimeters. And from the back is 20 centimeters. So it's 50 plus 40, it's 90 centimeters. I know my measurements, man. It is 90 centimeters long. God, I'm good at visualizing measurements. I don't want to brag, but the sword is really, really, really remarkable. And I might do a video because I have an article on Norwegian iron production. I think I'll look for it. If not, everyone knows how iron's made. You add iron, copper. You add iron and coal, and you get the carbon into the iron. You make it steel, and then you temper it, and you get a really good quality steel. If you fold it, you get Damascus steel or Japanese steel, iron steel. So yeah. Okay. I think we've done. I've been on it for an hour. I've been on for an hour talking most of the 20 minutes talking to myself. Oh God, I'm embarrassed. Now, I know a little bit of an announcement to make. I know that the people who I would love to debate, because they seem to be at this point in time the ones that are pushing. Well, no, they are pushing forward. They are expressing the most. Let me try and see. I want to do a debate with some prominent YouTubers who are, by the way, on the correct side of the argument. Not the wrong or right, it's the correct. Using factual evidence and etc. etc. And I would like to do a debate on what is the Western civilization, but more importantly, I want to do an appeal to any, because I hate asking for help. I'm doing this at the end because I know 90%, well, even 90% of the people will never get to this part of once I've finished the live stream, they will never get to this part of the live stream of the video. I'm planning to diversify a little bit more. I want to make this channel more scientific. I have some, my early videos were basically live streams talking about social commentaries, and I've changed to my field, but I still want to do social commentaries, and for that I need help, and help in a lot of technical features of producing a live stream. How can I make videos that I want to show the sound that everyone can produce, can listen to? I can make. I have so many videos that I would love to talk about, but I want people to hear them when I play them, and at the moment I am very, very lacking in that skill. Another one is how, for example, if I have one account, on YouTube, can I have 2 channels on that account? That isn't possibly a yes or a no. If it's a no, no problems. I have 3 accounts, so I can just do another one. But if it's a yes, I would like to know how I can do that. If anyone has any influence with any technical person, can they sort of get in touch with them and say, look, this guy is a nice, sort of a nice looking, he's a nice cunt. Help this poor bastard out, sort of. There goes my monetization. So fuck it, I don't give a shit. I do have OBS, by the way, if anyone wants to know. Yes, Modwayne, I do have OBS. I don't know how the fuck I can make it work. Real Raven, yes, he does. He already helped me with voice meter, but it is not what I want. And I know, yes, I do know Bering, but getting in contact with Bering, unless he's now listening to my chat, but I doubt it. He's probably listening to. Let's see who's on, who's streaming now. By the way, he's not. He was on Sargon's chat. He's probably still there. Also, Sargon, I'd love to have a talk. Yes, didn't. Don't follow. I will look those up. Yep, Sargon still having a chat with probably Barry and Jeff Holiday and everyone else. I'm not jealous. I've had 11 people watching, so that's cool. I'm fine. But yeah, I'm continuing this feature as I'm doing that until November. October, which is soon, I'm going to really plan out stuff and see what I can do. Yes, like I said, God damn it, I hate asking people. I am so introverted. I could contact Bering on Skype. I click on the button and then I turn it off because I feel that I'm intruding. That's my problem. I feel that I am intruding with people. I get frustrated with myself. I'm sort of a little bit of a rant now, guys. So I'm sorry. I'll probably lose about 15 subscribers. I already lost about, I don't know how many subscribers because I posted Jeff Holiday's What is Kekistani, and I will not apologize. I am not apologizing for that. No way. He's correct. And some of the comments on that video I find amusing because I find amusing. Just basically that. Now, my fault is that I don't like to basically, I don't like to. The Portuguese word is no. No, there's no Portuguese word. Even I can't think of the Portuguese word at the moment. I don't like to bother people. I hate bothering people. Even my workmates. I prefer to try to solve the problem myself, even probably won't ever solve it. That's why this is really it's hard for me to say this. I'm really struggling. I'm usually like you guys saw the difference between me doing my presentation and now this part. I apologize, guys. I don't want to burden any of you. You guys are awesome. Because this is the last part of the video, like I said, 90% of the people won't bother to watch it. But anyway, I will just see what I did. I will do. November will be major changes to my channel and to my content. No, my content will still be archaeology, but I want to diversify. I will have a second channel up. Either way, and rule of stars. You hate Jeff because he is a drama moment with too long did not read for a month straight. He wouldn't shut up. The Kyrgyzstani video was good though. Don't stress. Jeff, when he makes videos and when he has to, he provides facts. He's a very good communicator, which I am not. Yes, he has his faults. Everyone has his faults. I fucking have I have a lot of faults. There's no person who's perfect, except Chelsea Manning. Apparently, she's according to Vice, pure. Yes, I know it's pronounced till dear John W. Muse. Too long did not read is the correct. Why do I love you guys so much? You guys make me. You guys relieve my stress. I am in so much honored and humbled by you guys. So I honestly may do a video in the middle of the week because I have an awesome article that I think I won't be able to keep it up till Monday. So be prepared, guys. And I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for coming along. Didn't bore you too much, and